Hi, and welcome to another edition of The Grid. I'm Mike Foreman, a sports writer for the Victoria Advocate, and unlike last week when I was all by myself, I have company. I'm really excited about that. And joining me is Marcus Gutierrez and Ray Castillo, and we're going to talk about, of course, the final week of the regular season and the playoffs. And we're going to start with District 27-5A. First of all, the West Warriors. Good feeling for West in the playoffs. They have the bye week, get to heal up a little bit, prepare, scout. I guess West is pretty happy about its situation, finishing fourth in district.
I would say so. Coming into the year, a lot of question marks of what was going to happen. A lot of injury questions with Chase Greavy and Jordan Fillmore, but we got to see those new faces come. Keon Boyd stepped in at quarterback. And then sophomore running back Tyvon Hardrick really got that offense going. Brandon Gonzalez is helping at the receiver position. Keon Boyd and him are really connecting. And we get to see that Warrior offense move and score some points. But the defense also has come too. Losing a Kentwan Freeman and a Mason Banger. You worried about that, but they've had great leadership with Justin Martin, Hagan McClarity, and Bryce Sitka have stepped up in that secondary. And that defense gives them a chance to win any game. So that's very good. And it's the first time they're going to the playoffs under head coach Courtney Boyce. That's 3 wins for the Warriors. They only had 2 district wins last year, so we can see the improvement coming. So, like you said, this week they're going to heal up, and we'll see. We'll find out over the weekend where they're going to be playing their first round playoff game.
Okay, the flip side of the coin would be the 2 teams that Ray saw last week. Calhoun and East. Both of them failed to make the playoffs this year. I think a little different issues with both teams. First of all, let's start with East. Pretty apparent they had some defensive struggles, and it's led to what could be the worst season in school history. They're trying when they play Rosenberg Terry at Memorial Stadium on Friday night, they'll be looking to avoid the first winless district season in school history.
Right, Mike, and you look at that game, and obviously it was another tough loss for the Titans, and those kids know they're having a tough year. They know it's been bad, and those guys want to win. And speaking with Roland Gonzalez today, he was telling me that these kids, they know that it hasn't gone their way, but the one thing he couldn't stress enough was just going out there and giving it all for the seniors, because obviously this is going to be their last game of the year with no playoffs, and that's kind of been the approach ever since they were eliminated from contention. But you look at Calhoun, and a terrific game offensively. You look at the night Marshall Batts had, and they just executed well. They did everything they needed to do, but unfortunately, with the West win for Calhoun, they were eliminated as well. But it'll be interesting to see what they can do, against Angleton. That's going to be obviously a tough game against
Right.
that ranked team.
I think Calhoun, Marcus, and you've seen them. I think once again, what killed them in the end was the turnovers.
Yeah, the fumbles really hurt them in several games. But we knew coming into this year that they were going to be really young, and the good thing about young players is they're going to be back next year. And you look at those young players that are coming back. Silas Montgomery's going to be back to anchor that defense. Connor Kessler got to play a little bit at the quarterback position, and he looks really good and very athletic. And I think he brings more of that throwing mentality a little bit, so we'll still see that option offense. But you talk to those young kids, and they're very disciplined. Coach Whitaker has a great program down there, and they want to win. You throw those fumbles away, maybe they win 2 or 3, maybe they beat West, and they're in the playoffs, and West isn't. So I think the Calhoun's going to be back next year. They saw what they're capable of last week against East, so I think Calhoun's on a great strategy to do great things next year.
Right. I know if anyone has ever been to one of their practices, I mean, you see how much they rep that option offense, but things can go wrong, and the last 2 years they have, and that's why Calhoun won't be making the playoffs. And obviously, like Ray said, a tough task against Angleton, the number 5 team in the state that has just dominated the district. No one has come really close to Angleton. So tough way for Calhoun to end, but we'll see how it works out with them. A lot of big games Friday night. We'll start up in El Campo. We're Bay City in El Campo. the state's oldest continuous rivalry. This will be the 98th straight year that these teams play, and it's like 114 years total. And I think it was interesting. Coach Lupe Flores at Bay City was telling his team this week. He said, "You talk about 25 years maybe being, a generation or something. Well, then you have these kids from El Campo and Bay City. Some of their great-great-grandparents played in this game. That's how long this thing has been going on. It's a tremendous rivalry. Of course, El Campo has dominated lately. Bay City has not defeated El Campo since 2005. But as we saw last year, there are close games. In fact, El Campo won last year in overtime. So, it's kind of like that game where, in this game especially, where the district championship's on the line. El Campo wins, it's the outright champion, it gets the top seed. Bay City wins, it gets a share of the championship, and there are ways that it can be the top seed. So, it should be a great, great game.
Yeah, when we talk about Bay City, we talk about quarterback Dylan Davidson, who's had a great year. Last week, he was nominated for Ford Tough, which is one of the best players that had a great game in the state of Texas, which is huge. And he really has that dual threat ability. He can run it, he can throw it, and he really has the Black Cats offense moving, which is good. Now he's going to go up against the Ricebirds, which is a very good defensive team, and it's going to be a show. Like you said last year, that game, Bay City didn't have the best year last year, but that game they showed up and they almost took one away from the Ricebirds.
Right, and of course Davidson being the dual threat quarterback. I mean, last week I think he had almost 500 yards of total offense. And you look at El Campo where you have Neri Enriquez, the fullback who runs behind that offensive line. And El Campo's philosophy basically is we want to make first downs, we want to control the ball, and we want to keep your offense off the field. So really, I guess it's the team that is able to execute what it wants to do that comes out on top, and we'll see. It should be a great game. And it's not the only game that will decide a district championship. Down at Jack Sportsman Bobcat Stadium, Refugio and Shiner are going at it again. And you look at Bay City and El Campo have played over 100 times. Well, Refugio and Shiner, this will be the 5th time that they played, and it's really amazing that two programs with such success have not played that much. But until they were put in the same district, they just never seemed to meet. Last year, of course, Refugio had that state championship team and handled Shiner. And this year there were a lot of questions going in about Shiner. But boy, Coach Cherney has done a great job with that team. After losing to Hallettsville in the season opener, Shiner's reeled off 7 wins. So I guess, Ray, we can expect to see, two teams at the top of their game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, what more could you ask for? The top 2 teams in 15-2A, Division I going at it. So much experience on both sides, whether it's Herring, Cherney with the Comanches. I mean, you look at these kids, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, Shiner in just a game, they've only allowed 14 points in district play.
Something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, what more could you ask for? But I know Jared Kelly and the Bobcats are going to want to do something about that, and being the defending champions, they're going to bring it. But both teams, are going to leave it all on the field. It's going to be exciting to see what happens.
Yeah, if you look at it really, if you think about it, both teams have quarterbacks that weren't playing quarterback last year. I mean, they saw some action, but they didn't start. I mean, Refugio moved Jacoby Avery, who was the MVP of the state championship game, to running back, and here comes Jared Kelly, who's a sophomore. And I think it's easy to forget that sometimes when you look at how good he is. But he is still a sophomore. I mean, he has 28 touchdown passes, which is the most in the area. So they've really been slinging the ball. You turn around and you look at Shiner. I mean, Tyler Mickish has done a great job running that Veer offense. And as Coach Cherney said, they started out very basic, very simple. And as the year has gone on, they've added some things that are a little more complex now. And of course, you turn it over. Both defenses have played well, and you have to look at Shiner, the job that Daniel Bedecker has done. He stepped in for Billy Turek, who, my gosh, is a legend in South Texas. For all the years he ran that defense. So I mean, and here's the interesting thing: it's not out of the realm of possibility that these teams could meet again.
That's right.
In the quarterfinals, as they did a couple of years ago when Shiner beat Refugio. They ended up playing in the quarterfinals, and Refugio came away with a 3-point victory. So, of course, the fly in the ointment here, so to speak, is Mason. And here's where this game becomes very important. Coaches hate looking ahead, and they'll always tell you that. But the loser of this game is going to play Mason in the second round. And believe me, the coaches know this, that they would rather not play Mason or play Refugio or Shiner again until the quarterfinals. That's the big difference. And it's just the way the bracket is set up. I mean, really, the loser of this game would almost be better off finishing third because you wouldn't have to face Mason to the third round.
That's true.
But that's what's at stake at this game. So both teams know it, and should be a good game. Only the second home game for the Bobcats, because of the hurricane. So another, and down the road in Refugio County, Woodsboro, the Eagles have kind of flown under the radar, if you excuse the pun there. But they're going over to Rivera with a chance to win their first district title since 1988. Great job there in the first season by Coach Rangel. I know, Ray, you covered the Eagles against Yorktown, right?
Right. Yeah, those kids, they at first it started off coming in, playing their first home game. The storm kind of interrupted, things with them. But those kids, that's the one thing they talked about is their goal was to win a district championship, and now it's become a reality. And, you just look at the fans, too. They know that sometimes it's, it doesn't go their way and they get overshadowed. But now this could be the year that they finally make a statement.
Yeah, this is really great for Woodsboro because, for so many years it was in the district with Refugio, and, my gosh, it's hard to win against Refugio. And then they've struggled a little bit of lately, but this year they've been able to stay, I think, relatively healthy, which is the key for Woodsboro. So big opportunity for the Eagles on Friday night. Another game which won't be for the district championship, but it well determines second and third place, is up in Edna when Hallettsville and Edna go at it. Hallettsville had a bye last week. Edna has not lost since it played Yoakum. Yoakum, of course, handed both these teams their only losses. This is another kind of contrast in styles, Marcus, where, of course, Edna runs the slot T with Kenny Haynes, who leads the area in rushing. And then you turn around, you've got Hallettsville's wide open spread, which DJ Taylor leads the area in passing yards. So it ought to be really a good game.
Yeah, we know that the Brahmas can move the football. It's going to be stopping Kenny Haynes in that Cowboys offense. That's going to be the true test. If they can do that, they can win that game and finish in second place. But Edna has come along. Jerry Long brought that new offense into Edna, and you always have questions: how quick are the kids going to buy into the system? How are they going to move? But it seems like Coach Long's came in there, done a great job with those group of kids, and they're moving along just good. And now they have a chance, to take on Hallettsville.
Right, and I think this game, I don't know, is going to come down to who does a better job of stopping the other team. I mean, both teams, like you said, have shown the ability to move and to score. It's going to be a question, is Edna able to move the ball on the ground, and are they able to stop the passing attack? Or is Hallettsville able to somehow slow down that slot T to where Edna doesn't, take up all that time to give it less opportunities to score? So that should be a really good game coming up this week. And they're Tidehaven Tigers. I got to mention them. Bloomington, they're playing Bloomington in Port Lavaca. I know they got banged up last week. That was a costly win for Tidehaven. Their quarterback, Bryce Galvan, got shaken up, and I don't think he's going to play this week. But Tidehaven is looking for its first outright district title since the 1980s. They've clinched the top seed already. They did what they had to do. They beat Bowling. They beat East Bernard. A win here, they go, they finish the regular season undefeated and go into the playoffs. Just a tremendous job by Coach David Lucio up there at Tidehaven. And we have a number of games that we'll follow for you on Cover It Live. We'll have it on Twitter, and you can follow us there. And next week, of course, the playoffs start. So we should have quite a few teams in the playoffs. I was looking at it. It'll probably be around 20 teams. So we still have quite a few teams, but I know that this week it's going to be a big week with a lot of rivalries, a lot of big games. So check with us on the Cover It Live, and of course you can read all about it in the grid on Sunday. And we'll see you next week.